All right, so what we're going to do is do a quick little lesson on adding and subtracting decimals. All right, so number one, to add and subtract decimals, what you want to do is arrange the numbers so that the decimal points are directly under each other. Basically, you're just keeping the decimals lined up. After you have the decimals lined up and your numbers in the right place, you want to add or subtract as you would with whole numbers. And it's important to fill in empty spaces with zeros. Number three, you place your decimal in the answer directly underneath the other decimal points that you have, that you got from number one, okay? All right, let's take a look at an example. So number one, keep the decimals lined up. Add as you would with whole numbers. You can fill in empty spaces with zeros. And number two, after you add the numbers, bring your decimal down right underneath the other decimal points that you have. Okay, let's take a look at the first example. I have 35 and 2700ths plus 3 and 9/10. I have a place value chart here for you to put your decimal. So I'm going to take 35 and 2700ths. My decimal is going to go here underneath this one. The 5 is in the ones place, so it goes here. The 3 is in the tens place, so it goes here. All right, now the 2 is in the tenths place. It's right after the decimal. The 7 is in the hundreds place. It goes here. So I'm just keeping everything lined up place by place value. Now I want to add to it 3 and 9/10. Well, there's my decimal. So I'm going to go ahead and put my decimal. Keeping the decimals lined up, okay? The 9 is behind the decimal in the tenths place. And the 3 is in front of the decimal in the ones place. So as long as you keep your decimals lined up, you're good to go. Now I'm going to fill in all my empty spaces with zeros. And I'm going to add. 7 plus 0 is 7. 2 plus 9 is 11. You're going to carry that 1. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that decimal down. Because when you add, you bring your decimals down or you keep them lined up, okay? All right, now I know that 1 plus 5 is 6, and 6 plus 3 is 9. And 3 plus 0 is 3. So my answer is 39 and 1700ths. You're going to do this on notebook paper and follow along with me. Well, on the actual notes paper that I hand out. Okay, let's take a look at this next example. Here's my decimal. So I'm going to put my decimal here. And these numbers go before the decimal. 5, 3, 5. These go after the decimal. 4, 7, 4. I'm going to go ahead and locate my decimal in this one. Here's my decimal. Make sure your decimals are lined up. And before the decimal is a 2 and a 4. Keep these numbers lined up here, okay? And after the decimal is a 3 and an 8. Keep your numbers lined up. These will stay lined up together. These stay lined up together, okay? You don't have to write those arrows, but I want you to know they stay lined up together. The decimals stay lined up together and the numbers stay lined up together. All right, now, but get that decimal in there first. Now you're going to fill in empty spaces with the zeros. Zero underneath the 5, 0 underneath the 4, because there were no numbers underneath those. Oh, I'm not adding this time. I am subtracting. 4 minus 0 is 4. 7 minus 8. I don't want to do regrouping right now. So I'm going to change something up. On your paper, I want you to change this to a 9. Because I don't want to do any regrouping right now. Change that to a 9. So 9 minus 8 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. Bring your decimal down directly underneath the other decimals. 5 minus 4 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. 5 minus 0 is 5. So when I subtract, my answer is simply 511 and 114 thousandths. Basically, you just got to keep your decimals lined up and put your numbers in the right space, but you put your decimals first. Always put your decimals first and then put your numbers before and after, and bring your decimal down in your answer, okay? Okay, on the next example, I have 67.34 plus 89. I'm going to put my decimal first. Before this, the decimal is 67. After the decimal is 34. And then we have this plus 89, and you don't see a decimal. And I know some of you are wondering, where is my decimal? Is it before the 8? Is it between the 8 and the 9? Where is it? Well, decimals, if you don't see them, are always at the end. So add decimals, and you can put this little note to the end of a number if you don't see one. So I'm going to put it back here. You add it to the end. Decimals are like nice students that go get lunch from the lunch line. They don't break. When you go in the door, you get directly behind someone. You don't get in front of them. That's not what you do. Decimals are the same. They have the same courtesy. They don't go get in front of a number. They don't break. They go to the end. So just try to remember that. So now I know the decimal in 89 is at the end. So what's in front of the decimal is an 8 and a 9. And then I'm just going to fill in my empty spaces with zeros. And I'm adding. 4, 3, bring this decimal straight down. 7 plus 9 is 16. Carry the 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, and 7 plus 8 is 15. So that is my answer. Okay, you can pause the video and try the next example. All right, this is what you should have. Here's your decimal. Put your decimal. And before the decimal is 4, 5, 7. After the decimal is a 3 and a 9. You are subtracting, but you're subtracting 132. The decimal doesn't break, remember. So you don't see a decimal 132, so I'm going to put it at the end. So here's my decimal. Put your decimal first, and then put 132. Keep the numbers lined up. And you're going to fill in your empty spaces with zeros. And you are subtracting. 9 minus 0 is 9. 3 minus 0 is 3. Bring the decimal down directly below the others. 7 minus 2 is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. And 4 minus 1 is 3. That is my answer. All right, we're going to try a few without the place value chart. So let's just take a look. And what you're supposed to do at this moment is pause the video and try A through D. Give yourself some time to get those done, and then unpause the video and make sure you got them correct, okay? So at this moment, pause the video, try A through D on your own, and then unpause it when you get finished to see if you got them correct. Okay, let's take a look and see if you got them right. All right, so here's my decimal. Put your decimal. And in front of the decimal is 3, 5, and 8. Behind the decimal is an 8 and a 9. All right, here's my decimal. Put your decimal, and in front of the decimal is a 3 and a 2. And keep your numbers lined up. The 8 with the 2, the 5 with the 3. Behind that decimal is an 8. You're going to fill in your empty spaces with zeros. And you are subtracting. 9, 0. Bring your decimal down. Keep it lined up. Let me make that a little better. 8 minus 2 is 6, 2, and 3. That's all you do. All right, I notice on B there is no decimal in 15, so I'm going to go ahead and put it at the end. I'm going to put my decimal, and then I'm going to put a 7 and a 9 before it. And after the decimal is a 4. And then for 15, I know there's my decimal in 15. And in front of the decimal is a 1 and a 5. Filling your empty spaces with zeros. And you are adding 4. Bring your decimal straight down. Keep them lined up. 9 plus 5 is 14. Carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. And 8 plus 1 is 9. It's just that simple. Okay, let's take a look at C. Put your decimal first, and then you're going to put the numbers 3, 6, 4, and 2. 2,463. And after the decimal is an 8, a 4, and a 7. Now you're subtracting 235, but you don't see a decimal. So remember, when you don't see a decimal, it's at the end. So there's my decimal. I'll put it first, and then in front of the decimal is the 5, the 3, and the 2. And I'm going to fill in all empty spaces with zeros. And you are subtracting. And I want to fix something because I don't want to regroup. I'm going to change this to an 8. On your paper, change that to an 8 for me. I don't want to regroup right now. Okay, so now we have 8 minus 5, which is 3. 6 minus 3, which is 3. 4 minus 2, which is 2. And then bring 2 minus 0 is 2. And that is your answer. Okay, let's take a look at D. Put your decimal first. In front of the decimal is a 3 and a 5. Behind it is a 7, 4, and 8. Put your decimal first here. In front of the decimal is a 4. Behind the decimal is a 5. And then you're going to fill in empty spaces with zeros. And you're adding 8. 4 plus 0 is 4. 7 plus 5 is 12. Bring your decimal down. Carry your 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. Carry your 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. And that is your answer. That is what you should have. Now I want you to try the practice that I upload for adding and subtracting decimals. And it may not be a practice yet. I'm going to teach you regrouping, and then I'll put the practice up. So right now the next video is subtraction with regrouping, not a practice, okay? Thank you.